Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Olivia.
I'm Victor.
And I'm Zach. And this is the podcast where sometimes a boner is just a boner.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I dreamt I had a soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, will that dream just go on for its own sake?
I wonder what really old conspiracy theories are like the ones that are way out of date, you know? Like planes aren't real. You can't man can't fly. That's lies. I've never seen one.
Yeah, what's the earliest conspiracy theory? Probably aliens, right?
Probably dinosaurs.
Wait, that they exist or
Yeah,
that they don't exist?
There's a sect of highly religious people that believe
that they don't exist, right?
Right, that fossils were falsified to
Oh yeah, we've met these people.
Yeah, because the earth isn't that old. God only created it so long ago, and there's no dinosaurs in the Bible, ergo were no dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, I saw this thing online that was like a creationist worksheet, and like one of the questions was like, did people and dinosaurs live together? And the answer was yes. And then it asked like which of these dinosaurs like most closely resembles the Leviathan in the biblical stories or whatever. It was like really the pitch was that like there was a short time period where people and dinosaurs coexisted, and then I guess we hunted them to extinction. I don't really know what
That
the
wasn't
idea
in
is
the
at that
Bible
point.
either. I thought the Leviathan was a whale.
Yeah, I think so. But no, I think
Welcome
you're
to
right.
Bible study.
We watched this like Christian game show just for funsies.
Sounds fun.
And
American Bible Showdown.
yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not a bad watch. But
Hosted by Jeff Foxworthy.
American Ninja Jesus Warrior.
But like I only remember like one moment from that show, and it was like it's a game show, and he's asking like trivia questions. It's like the whole thing is trivia actually.
Wait, is it actually
but
hosted
dressed
by
up as
Foxworthy?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
and
I
it's
totally
like
thought-
hyper specific Bible questions.
I totally thought that was a joke.
No.
No.
Nope. It's
And then I
actually
realized
hosted by Jeff Foxworthy.
He hosts a couple other shows, and I was like, oh wait, that could be a real, not a joke.
Yeah. No, it's just Bible trivia, but like sometimes they'll dress it up like it's beer pong, but every game is trivia. And one of the questions was, what percentage of Christians believe that the roads of heaven are literally paved in gold?
What percentage?
Yeah.
What percentage?
And the options were like
It's like 25%.
I mean,
40%.
when it comes to eternal
75.
salvation or damnation, nothing's really trivial. What do you think about it?
Yeah, this isn't a trivia question. This is a Syria question.
No, yeah, this was like they polled Christians
What percentage
And-
think that the pathway to heaven is literally paved with gold?
with physical literal gold.
How many saw Wizard of Oz?
75% of the people they polled believe that the roads to heaven are literally paved in gold.
Huh. I thought that was only a precious resource on Earth.
That's what I thought.
As above, so below.
As below, so above.
God only writes what he knows.
It's like they set it up. Like there's like an audience and everything. And like everybody's excited to be there. There's a lot of cheering. And then they get into the questions and it is like the driest, most obscure like Bible factoids you've ever heard in your entire life. And these people are like nailing it. It's it's something to see.
Yeah, this is reminding me of in high school. I was hanging out with my high school girlfriend at my house, and we found like a Bible Trivial Pursuit, like the board game on my. My dad was raised very Christian, and is still super Christian. I don't think he believes that heaven is literally paved with gold. But he had this board game, and I was like a snide atheist jackass. So I was like, "Oh, let's play this as a goof," and I didn't realize that she was like really hardcore. Like she grew up Southern Baptist.
Oh, dang.
And yeah, she smoked me at it. Like every single question, I was like, they were deep cuts, and she knew what every single answer was, and I didn't even know what they were referencing. And I had read the Bible. I thought I would have a fighting chance, but no. There's a lot of layers to that basement. You can get pretty deep.
I'm gonna get offensive here for a second. I have a real problem with not religion, but being a nerd. All right? Digging this deep into trivia, it's disgusting. Change your life.
It is funny how I don't think we've ever talked theology on this podcast, and we came in real hot with the God takes. But really, that's what it comes down to. It's fucking nerds.
Yeah, no. Just that one question.
Yeah, you just shouldn't have encyclopedic knowledge of any book. The book's right there. You don't need to memorize it. Just crack it open. What are you doing?
But can we agree that heaven, if there's a heaven, it is not like a physical, literal place. Like it's not like a place that you could take a spaceship up to. So there's not gold on the streets, right? Like I feel like it would require it to be a physical place for there to be literal gold.
Okay, but how cool would that be though? If like
just take a vacation.
It's just on Pluto, you know? It's not a planet anymore because it's like a heavenly dimension or whatever. And like you can just like take the space bus there. Visit your family and friends.
The SpaceX bus. That's what Elon's working on.
Right. He's trying to take us all to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was that's not like the only time that's coming. Like, wasn't that like the Heaven's Gate people were like, there's literally a spaceship. It's literally gonna pass by,
and you have to.
And it's gonna suck our souls up, and
if we all commit suicide at the same time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also like, don't Mormons think that you go to like a planet, like you get a planet?
I've heard that.
When you die.
I don't want to.
If you're a man, if you're a man and you die, you get a planet.
My favorite thing about Heaven's Gate is that two people stayed behind to maintain their website.
Was it the leader?
No.
Oh, that's so
no,
funny.
the two nerds in Heaven's Gate that
fucking nerds
that knew how to code HTML in 1990 whatever.
Goddamn cult nerds.
Yeah, they volunteered to stay behind to keep the website afloat, and it's still there. You can still go to their website.
They're like, thank God.
And they're still alive. And the fact that like everyone else was like, we're gonna board a spaceship and go to heaven, and they're like, that's cool, but our greater purpose
is WordPress.
If WordPress had been around at the time, they might have been able to go on the spaceship.
That's right. And they could have just let it would run itself.
I have so many questions.
Wait.
Like, I'm really interested. Like,
yes. Wait, me first.
Okay, go ahead.
Are those two guys still in the cult together?
They are the cult. I don't know. I feel like you did correctly assume they were both guys, though.
Yeah. No, they're two guys. Yeah.
It's the 90s. Yeah. But like, okay, so
other people with that same knowledge set were like making Mortal Kombat at the time. You know what I mean?
So it's like, okay, so like you have the opportunity to be like raptured, and you're like, no, it's important that I stay here so that everyone who doesn't get raptured has access to our webpage.
Yeah.
To
know why everyone else went. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that they believed that that's what was happening.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think these nerds were a little scared to die.
I can't believe the cult leader was like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. You hang back and the rest of us will take a trip.
You can split the pool of money that we've accumulated between the two of you and put it towards the website. And they were like, yeah, the website. Aforementioned girlfriend, the Southern Baptist one. Mm-hmm. First of all, it was really funny because we lived in northern Maine, but visiting her church, which I did a handful of times, One of those times was the hardest I've ever laughed in my entire life.
Well, let's hear that story.
Because it was on it's one of those night services, like one of those special days like Ash Wednesday or Freaky Friday or whatever, where you go to church at night.
Mhm.
And we were having some high school couple fight. Whatever high school couples fight about. I don't remember what it was about.
You were mad at each other at church?
Yeah, we were mad at each other during the day, and the fight continued in a church. And so we're sitting at the back, and we're like passing notes that we're writing on the church program, back and forth, like continuing the fight, because this is pre-texting. But at one point, the pastor's at the front, and this was like the norm for their church. He was a big man, like a big obese guy, and bearded, and he was like red in the face from screaming. Like every service they had was like screaming hellfire and brimstone. It was a very scary place, but we were barely paying attention because we were in the midst of high school drama. And at one point, right as she passed me a note, he yelled out, "Sometimes what you don't do is just as damning as what you do." And just hearing a grown man in that context scream the word doo-doo made me like immediately lose my shit. Like tears streaming down my face, having a hard time catching my breath. Like I can't get enough air in to make the sound for laughter. And people in the pews ahead of us, like one row at a time, they're like gradually like turning around and be like, "Who the fuck?" It's because this man's screaming, and then there's this kid in the back just like hysterically laughing. And so it just gradually grows into like, it's feeding my laughter. The more people are like, think I'm laughing at him, which I am, but not for the reasons they probably think it's all about doo-doo. And eventually I couldn't take it anymore. And I went out to the parking lot. I just got up and left and just like,
you gotta do.
Leaned against the car and like cry laughed until she came out. She was like, "What the fuck was that about?" And I was like, "He said doo-doo."
At least one person in that church fully thought you were possessed. Like they thought that was like a demon that was driving you out of the church.
I kind of was, but I feel like I was possessed by the Lord. I feel like the Spirit got me. I feel like that was a religious experience in a way, because I feel like I transcended religion that day. I was like, God isn't about this shit. God is about laughing at doo-doo. That's where real joy comes from.
It's the kind of memory that's going to stick with you when you're senile. And you'll just be wandering around like doo-doo.
Yeah.
That's like one of the last things you'll remember if you like have Alzheimer's. You'll just be quoting that guy.
When you die and your DMT dump happens and you have like your most vivid experience, it's going to take you right back to that church.
I hope those are my last words. Sometimes.
He said doo-doo.
No, what he said. I hope my last words are literally, sometimes what you don't do is just as damning as what you do. And people who are at my bedside will think it was like some profound thing. And really, I just wanted my last words to be doo-doo.
I think you should have that, like, even if you're not buried, you should have a headstone and just have that on your headstone.
Yeah.
Just keep it like in the house, though. Don't take up the precious real estate.
Yeah.
Whose house?
Ask someone to take it.
My house.
And pass it down.
I won't take up the real estate in the ground, but I will still have my house with my tombstone in it.
I wish people would start putting their headstones in their front yards. And then when you buy a new house, it's like illegal to move them. So you just have that. You just have to have that there.
Mm.
I don't actually wish that, but
that used to be a thing, right? Like a family plot, and all your family would be like buried out back or something.
I think that was when property was more likely to stay in the family.
Yeah,
you just be like, "Yep, 3 generations back there."
But that would be wild if that was still a thing. But people are still hopping houses every like 10 years or something. Yeah. It's just like a random assortment of different people from different families that are buried out back.
That
just whoever happened to die when you live there.
Be a lot more eco-friendly than having graveyards, though.
Would it?
Yeah, because it's like my understanding is that that's just a bunch of land that is like you can't do anything with, and that they have to keep the grass watered and like
a graveyard.
They have to
you mean?
maintain it. Yeah, it just takes up space. I feel like it's a huge waste of space. No offense, anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like eventually they'll get turned into, you know, a lot of like major parks in cities are former graveyards.
How long does everyone in the graveyard have to be dead before you can just kind of like
Make a
go
park.
over it with a bulldozer? Put up
Yeah, I mean, I think they're usually Potter's Fields. They're like homeless people and criminals.
When we were in San Francisco, we took like a ghost tour, and
Was this on your honeymoon?
Yeah,
That's a great honeymoon.
Of course
activity.
it was.
It was
that.
great. But they were talking about how City Hall was like built right on top of like a burial plot that was not supposed to, like, where they were never supposed to build there, and then they built City Hall right on top of it, and it was like, wasn't there something about like a bunch of bodies getting washed away or something?
There was a huge earthquake, and there were just a bunch of gravestones that just kind of got all like swept up. I don't know exactly, but like you can walk, if you're walking on the sidewalk and you look down, you'll just like see them. They're just like there in the cement.
Oh, sick. I feel like I got this joke from somewhere else, but one of my favorite things to say when I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard with anyone along the, you know, the Walk of Fame with the stars and the handprints and everything, I like to go, man, they must bury him standing up.
That's pretty good.
They're so close together. I feel like so don't come at me if some comedian said that and I don't remember who, but I don't feel like that was an original thought, but it is a funny joke.
Do people just walk down that street?
Oh yeah, I'm down there a lot because I have a buddy who lives like right there. We have to walk down the Walk of Fame to get to his Trader Joe's for beer.
That's fucking funny.
Do you want to hear the story of the graveyard under City Hall in San Francisco?
Yeah, did you pull it up?
I pulled it up, yeah. So I'll just read this to you. The story of the graveyard under City Hall in San Francisco dates back to the 19th century. In the early days of the city, the area where City Hall stands today was known as Lone Mountain Cemetery, which was the city's main burial ground. However, as the city grew in size, the cemetery became overcrowded and unsanitary, leading to health concerns among the residents. In the late 1800s, the city decided to close the cemetery and move the bodies to a new location. However, due to poor record keeping and other factors, not all of the bodies were relocated, and many remained buried beneath the land where City Hall was later built. In 1894, construction began on the new City Hall building, and workers quickly began to discover human remains as they excavated the site. The city authorities decided to continue with the construction, and workers were instructed to remove any remains they found and bury them elsewhere. However, as construction continued, more and more graves were uncovered, and the workers began to realize that the problem was much larger than they had originally thought. In 1902, City Hall was finally completed, but rumors persisted that the building was haunted by the spirits of the unburied dead. Over the years, many people reported strange occurrences in the building, such as ghostly apparitions and unexplained noises. Some even claimed to have seen spirits of the buried bodies roaming the halls.
Spooky.
Yeah.
This is maybe a side note, but I was listening to this podcast about how it was
talking about the floors.
Yes,
I knew it. I wanted to talk about that.
This is so fucking crazy. So it was just it's a spooky podcast or whatever. They were talking about a story about a haunted building and how one of the main sighting that people would see was like ghosts, but like cut off at the knees, and like they would like be moving like normal, but they would just be like at the knee, and then people on the floor below would see fucking feet sticking through the ceiling walking around. And then
like broken video game characters.
Right.
Yeah.
So like they were talking about this in one episode, and then in a separate episode of the same podcast, they were talking about a different haunted, it was a hotel, but like one of the main sightings was feet sticking through the ceiling. And like in both of these situations, they found that the buildings had been renovated and the ceilings were moved up. So which fucking makes it sound like there's some kind of like physical logic to like the ghosts are literally walking around where the floor used to be when they were alive.
So when you die and become a ghost, you're stuck at the exact elevation.
Apparently.
But that raises so many questions, right? Because if that's how that works, how do you account for like the planet is moving like in the solar system, like in the locate, like once you get down to like physical location, like how the fuck does that work? It's wild.
It's bizarre, yeah.
Because that's a real story. Like,
and those were two separate stories on separate episodes of that podcast that like
I've never heard a story like that.
We really ought to like cite our sources or something.
Well, I feel like that like adds credence to my ghost theory that ghosts are just like not on the other side of death, but they're like coexisting in a parallel reality, that like sometimes like two realities will slip over each other, because that would be like two video game worlds on top of each other, and this one the floor is a little higher than the other one, and the people walking around appear to be lower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because like a lot of like ghost stories are like, you know, I heard my dad called me in the kitchen, but he's been dead for 5 years. And my theory is like maybe in that reality, the timeline overlapped with another one where he didn't die 5 years ago.
The only thing that I would say, like, where that falls apart for me is like in at least one of these
Probably a lot
stories.
Of places where it falls apart.
Well, yeah, but like in one of these stories, like one of those ghosts that was seen at the knees was like it was the same guy every time, and he was like an old timey like kind of piratey guy. I don't know. One of them was on a ship.
Right. Well, that could be like a point where like consistently the two currents consistently overlap. So a lot of people. And I don't mean like just parallel realities of the same time, but you know, different parts of the fourth dimension. I'm like I'm on acid right now.
That reminds me of this very sound like you're on acid theory I heard one time that was like this idea that like for you in your own personal timeline, anytime where you hit a point where you would die, you just split off into a reality in which your consciousness continues. And so like other people will die in your reality, but you will always kind of find a way to continue on as a consciousness. You will just like slip in and out of different worlds until you land in the circumstances in which you continue, right? And so like maybe it's like, yeah, it's like that person's dad died, but that's like their dad split off into another universe and they're like interconnected, you know. Does that make sense? You hear what I'm saying? Very stonery conversation, but
so their dad's just out there on a different trajectory, and they just like intersected with it on accident for a second,
right?
When they heard him in the kitchen.
I don't know. Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
I mean, I'm just talking.
Just shocking.
Yeah, but is this podcast about dreams?
Most of the time.
Should it be today?
Oh, spirits.
Can be.
Does anyone have a dream to share?
I'm just gonna plug this right here. Listeners, if you have been thinking about sending in a dream, but you haven't done it for whatever reason, we would love to hear those.
Yeah.
We get them every now and then, and they're just a wonderful treat.
That's thejungandtherestlesspod at gmail.com.
Send them in. Well,
all right. Well, I had a fun one.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear it.
I had a fun one the other night that we can do. So, and I already told my girlfriend about this, Shelby, because it's ostensibly mostly about her. Although, as we've learned, it may not be about her at all.
Was she in it?
Yeah.
Then it's not about her. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
That's my running theory.
Do you think that's a good rule of thumb?
No.
I think the rule of thumb is that you can't count on it to be about the people in it. And it starts off seeming like it's definitely about her, but it weaves into some really weird territory at the end. So I had a dream that we were getting married, and the wedding was just dog shit. Like it was poorly planned from the get-go. And then everything that could go wrong was Papa Murphy's Law. We were like doing it in like a strip mall. I was wearing like a shitty Goodwill suit. She was wearing like a leather jacket over like a sundress. We both forgot our vows, like either forgot to write them or forgot to bring them. It started to hail at one point. We hadn't even looked into how to get a marriage license. Even though I remember in the dream that being the part that I was looking forward to, was like going to City Hall and like doing the paperwork. The ceremony itself, that felt like that was why it was going so poorly, is because neither of us like gave a shit about the pomp and circumstance. But that lent to a feeling in the dream that like everyone else was pissed at us. Because they had showed up and they're like, what is this shit? It reminded me a lot of when I wrote this down in my notes. It reminded me of when I graduated from college, because our university did like a class of 2013 graduation that I did not attend, but then the film department did its own thing, and I genuinely thought that it was casual. Like I remember looking over the fucking memo that I got and thinking like, oh, this is like a barbecue, and then I showed up dressed like a fucking hipster hobo and realized that everyone else was in cap and gown, and it was like a ceremony for the film department. And I called my buddy and I was like, hey, can you please dress like an idiot? And and this is like still my best friend of this day, and this is why he showed up dressed exactly the same as me, with like a shitty jacket with holes in it and a t-shirt and dirty jeans, and we were the only two assholes that graduated like that. And my point is, my family was annoyed about it, because some of them had driven down from another state and stuff. But I honestly didn't know it was going to be like that. And it was the same feeling in the dream. Yeah. Then the what do you call it, after the wedding, the reception was in like a restaurant in the strip mall. We didn't have reservations. There was an old guy who was rude. I was getting aggressive with him, but my dad made friends with him. Okay, then this is where it gets weird. I look over and I see that there's some stuff on the counter, like just out in front of everybody, including a butt plug. And I immediately register in the dream that it's my butt plug.
Zach.
And I just, not saying I have one in real life, but in the dream I had one and it was out.
And it looks just like the one he has in real life. Right down to the ZW monogram. And I surreptitiously like scooped it into my pocket. But then there was this little kid in the dream who I knew in the dream to be Shelby's little brother. And he, in front of everybody, was like, that man has a butt plug. And I called him a little turd. And I pretended to be covering for someone else.
He says, not mine.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm just being a bro and hiding someone else's butt plug. So where do we go from here?
Is butt plug in the dream Bible?
I don't know why I thought that would be a defense. But I was like, I don't want anyone else to get embarrassed, so I'll take this.
I'm not getting anywhere with butt plug.
Dildo?
Let me see.
There you go.
Of course, this is the symbol you immediately glom onto.
All right, so I got a lot of tabs. Not necessarily have to go through all of them. I've got wedding, poor, because you were like, it was all very dressed down. Hail, graduation, elderly, siblings, liar, and dildos.
Liar.
There wasn't graduation in the dream.
No,
right?
no, I was just comparing it to a real life. Like I was trying to explain the feeling in the dream by virtue of a real life example.
Got it.
And liar is because you're
pretending
a dirty liar. You were lying about the butt plug to everybody.
Well, who wouldn't? I mean,
I'm just saying. I looked for lie and it redirected me to liar. So
it's also a terrible lie. I mean,
yeah.
The real life move would be to not touch it. Just be like, oh my God, whose is that? But instead of
my inclination is always to like start with setting. So like
strip mall.
What do we have? Oh, I was gonna say wedding, but there is no strip mall entry. It looks like
there's a mall entry, but strip mall feels different.
Yeah. But I feel like a wedding is also a setting.
Yeah, and it was more about that. Like poverty feels more like, or poor or whatever you pulled up, feels more like a setting or part of the set than anything else.
Okay. So should I do wedding or
Let's start with wedding.
Poor? Okay. Wedding. To dream of a wedding represents unification with some aspect of yourself, the joining or merging of qualities. It may also reflect an experience in your life where you're noticing something becoming permanent, often a symbol for new habits or situations that are becoming commonplace in your life. A wedding may also represent a catalyst event that motivates you to do something all the time. Something that can reflect a transforming event. Sometimes can reflect a transforming event. There's negatively. Was it a negative wedding?
By objective measurements, perhaps, but the overwhelming feeling in the dream was positive.
Okay. Yeah, I think
me,
that's
I was a little self-conscious about how everyone was judging us for being so poorly planned. But
there's to dream of problems at a wedding.
Yeah. So let's maybe come back to negatively. Yeah. The other category is to dream of attending a wedding, to dream of planning for a wedding, to dream of running away from a wedding, to dream of problems or fighting at a wedding.
Not relationship problems. We were doing great, Shelby and I. It was all pragmatic problem, like logistical problems.
The last category is just if you're getting married in real life.
No.
So does any of that feel right? Does negatively feel right?
No, okay. None of those specific.
Does problems at a wedding feel too separate from it?
Well, they sort of lumped it in with fighting, so I assume it means like relationship problems, and that wasn't the vibe of the dream.
Wasn't there fighting in the reception though?
Not between Shelby and I.
Yeah, I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, right? I think it's not necessarily, well, I'll read it anyway and we'll kind of.
It was like, there was an old guy who was not part of the wedding. Like he was just trying to go to Cracker Barrel or whatever.
Well, it sounds like there were problems at the wedding.
There were problems.
That there was fighting at the wedding, regardless of you were fine and you and Shelby were fine, but that stuff was present there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the overwhelming theme of the dream, was that at the core of it, we were really happy to be getting married, and we were almost like blindsided, even though we shouldn't have been, by how much shit that happens at a wedding, and we weren't able to control it all. But we also had this attitude of well, whatever, we're in love. It's it sucks that everyone's so pissed at us, but they'll get over it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, so these may not necessarily fit, but I think they're worth reading just because.
I also think going into the specific problems on separate symbols like hail,
right?
Like that, things like that, I think would be more effective.
No, we'll dig into all that, but I do think that that part of what's happening here is there is the wedding, but there's all these problems with the wedding. So looking at some of the negative interpretations might be helpful down the road.
Cool.
So negatively, a wedding may reflect negative situations or negative thinking patterns that are becoming commonplace in your life, being amplified in your waking life. Negative situations or unwanted aspects of yourself merging. Fear, want, jealousy, or guilt that are regularly occurring or feeling permanent. And then to dream of problems or fighting at a wedding may reflect issues with commitment, confidence, or consistency. You may be having second thoughts about a change you are considering. Alternatively, it may reflect jealousy you or someone else has while watching others achieve something, not liking seeing someone else permanently realize a goal. It may also point to feelings that seeing a permanent change occur is not a good idea. So it sounds like, it sounds like weddings are about synthesizing parts of yourself, unifying parts of yourself. And then the negative stuff is problems with that process, or anxiety about these changes, or this kind of transition for yourself.
Yeah.
Something about that reminded me of your tidal wave
dream. I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you go ahead and say something about it then.
I mean, that's it. Everything that resonated about what you just said brought me back to that dream. And
right.
And so far I can only tie this to my actual relationship with Shelby, in which we are trying to figure out a way for her to move, to kind of recap the tidal wave dream.
Right.
Trying to figure out a way for her to move to California so we can be together. And from the outside, I think maybe some anxieties I'm struggling with are the way other people might perceive that as being hasty or irresponsible, especially with her having a kid in the mix who wasn't in the dream, but maybe symbolized by some of the hectic going-ons.
Do we want to look at the symbols for the other hectic going-ons?
Yeah, of all some of the other Dream Bible symbols you looked up, hail and poverty or poor, those two jumped out at me.
Awesome. Yeah. So poor. To dream of being poor represents your lingering feelings of powerlessness or inadequacy.
Yeah.
It may also reflect your sense of limitation or restriction. You feel you don't have the resources, skills, or friendships required to achieve your goals. Which, I mean, all of this seems to fit in with what we talked about with the tidal wave dream, right? You've got your tension between this desire, this thing that you want to do, your excitement about being together, and then all the practical concerns that, make it feel like a chaotic decision. And then hail. To dream of hail represents feelings of disappointment that feels intentionally hurtful. A serious matter or disappointment that is nothing to laugh at. Feeling that someone else is ruining a good time in your life with vain anger or punishment. Disappointment that risks permanent or serious failure. A dangerous disappointment that you feel may be best to avoid for the short term. More failure or disappointment than you can handle. A disappointing situation that is so terrible it cancels out significant progress you've made. Difficult times. You or someone else that is emotionally shut down during a difficult time. Feelings about a dangerous aftermath to an unpleasant or difficult change. Angry, bitter, disappointed people in your life that make you feel like they intentionally don't want to support you or feel good about your choices.
Yeah, there was some stuff in the beginning and the end there that resonated in relation to like other people and my perceived perception of theirs about what's going on. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it does.
It feels to me like after hearing what you just said, the hail to me feels tied to the feeling in the dream of like everyone looking at this wedding with disapproving eyes.
Right. If you feel like, that like trying to make this move work is like, you see that it's like, risky and that like stuff's coming up and you got to figure out a bunch of stuff to make it work. But like if you're feeling like other people are looking at that situation and, judging you for it or something, that's like stressful.
Which I don't know exactly where that would be coming from because my friends and family are happy for me. But from my side of the relationship, it's pretty straightforward. Like my family just knows that I met someone that I'm like really excited about and they're excited for me.
Yeah.
But I think on Shelby's side, things are more complicated.
I'm sure
she'd be the one moving.
She's the one moving. She's the one with a daughter. She has a ground up, more complicated relationship with her nuclear family, even outside of the daughter.
And so is that something that's been causing you stress or something that you guys have been talking about is like, fallout from you guys deciding to do this?
Yeah, I think so. It's not consciously causing me stress, but I think I might be, what's the word? Empathizing. That's not actually the word I was looking for, but it is. I wanted to make it clear I didn't forget the word empathy. I think I might absorbing like some of her concerns, a lot of stuff that's been going through her mind that she's been processing to me. I might be processing subconsciously in this dream.
Yeah,
because I don't want to like a lot of our conversations about her moving here have on my end had to do with like me navigating this in a way where I'm like making sure I'm being sensitive to everything that she's going through because I want this to stick and I want it to be good for her in every possible way.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about this. So the question that's coming to mind, and it's okay if we don't include this, but I'm wondering, does like the situation with there's like a custody issue, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a contentious thing, like between her and her mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big,
yeah,
and
it's
that's heavy,
complicated.
and yeah, very complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it makes sense. If that was something that was on your mind on some level,
Yeah.
you know,
That makes sense.
you were involved, right? It's directly connected to you through your partner.
Yeah.
You're part of the equation of what's going on with that conflict.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that might be the main thing, building this scenario in which everyone is disapproving, because I can't honestly think of another reason. Like if it weren't for the kid, I can't think of another reason why anyone in her life would be
right,
like concerned. I mean, on paper, like we've been dating for 6 months, so I guess on paper you could say like you're gonna move to California for this guy, but we've also known each other for 7 years.
and you're adults, and like you can do whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, and she's wanted to move to California since she was a little girl, so it's not, apart from the kid, I don't really see a real reason why anyone would rain the parade, but that does complicate things exponentially. And when I had this dream was about a week ago, and at that time, sorry, I'm just thinking how much I want to get into this because
Totally. Yeah, this is sensitive.
Let's just put a little pin here for editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I want to ask Shelby about whether or not this is okay to talk about.
Totally. Yeah.
Because it's definitely not pertinent to the dream, because I had the dream a week ago and it was just like yesterday that in therapy, Shelby's therapist brought up like, well, what if you went without the kid? What if even if you get custody, your daughter doesn't want to go with you? Because her daughter has this, really strong attachment to her grandmother, Shelby's mom, and strong attachment to Colorado and yada yada. And so either way, like, Shelby might be looking at living in her mom's house till she's pushing 40. And I don't know. Her therapist just brought up like, what about the possibility of you, losing the custody battle. And that's extraordinarily heavy, but like also maybe a valid question.
Yeah.
I think definitely a valid question.
Because it's like if the kid is better off staying in Colorado than coming to Los Angeles, and Shelby's better off going to Los Angeles because of the, everything she's got going on in her life, not just me. She has a whole career path that would definitely blossom more here than in Colorado.
Well, I mean, it's not my place to say anything, but she has been able to like come and see you very regularly, right? And so it's possible to like kind of do the reverse, right? And be going back periodically to,
right.
Yeah.
And I have family in Colorado too. Like we could both go back,
right?
Yeah.
That it's worth at least looking at that and seeing if that's worth at least trying for a while you guys get your like figure out your stability. Yeah,
and we've talked about a scenario in which she kind of lives, split time. Like if she works in healthcare, so the hours are very weird. There's a very real possibility she could work and live here a certain portion of the month, and in Colorado another part.
Yeah.
But it's complicated. It's hard enough to know what's best for the kid when you're the mom. It's impossible for me to say,
Yes.
And it's not really your responsibility to even have, you shouldn't have to say. That is really like so much between like those few people involved, Shelby and her mom and her kid, right?
Yeah. And Shelby's not expecting me to be a deciding factor like that. She's curious I think mostly what she's curious about, or what she wants to know from me, is that I'm not going to think she's a horrible mom if she moves to LA. And I told her, no, I don't think that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't.
And I guess I just say that because like it does feel like from the stream, there's like, it feel like I get the sense that you feel like some responsibility in the equation, or like
right,
that like you're concerned that people are perceiving you as responsible for this, but Shelby's an adult and she makes her own choices, right? And you're not the puppeteer pulling the strings, like, and
trying actively.
I understand that that's right. And I think that I understand your concern that like you might be perceived that way because people, when they are angry, do like to project things onto other people, right? But I think like it's important to remember that how you are actually operating in this scenario is not that way at all.
I appreciate that.
But it is very complicated. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
So what's the butt plug about?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah. I don't know how much of any of that we're gonna keep. But
I'll ask Shelby. Yeah. It might all be fine, but like we'll either keep all that or cut it out. And now we'll move on to sex toys. A reoccurring theme in my dreams.
I know.
Dildos. To dream of dildos represents feeling good dishonestly.
Dishonestly.
It's not an honest man's penis.
It's not a real dick.
That wasn't the whole sentence.
But actually, a butt plug is even less honest because you could wear it in all day and no one would ever know.
That's right.
To dream of a dildo represents feeling good, dishonestly asserting yourself, and getting away with it.
Asserting
I don't know
or
that's better.
Heyo. Asserting.
Feeling that it's easy to assert yourself in a fake way. Emptily enjoying asserting yourself while not needing anyone else.
No, it wasn't empty.
Solution to a problem that isn't beautiful, but works. Using lies to assert yourself that you don't want to tell anyone the truth about.
Okay, and it's funny because that's really what was going on, right? Like,
wait, how so?
You pulled. Well, you
lied about.
You lied about it.
You
that part.
Grabbed it,
yeah.
and then you turned around and you were like, "This is not my butt plug."
Such a bad lie. Yeah. It reminded me of
fighting it for someone else.
It reminded me of this time in like kindergarten when did you guys in grade school do like the thing where like after recess the teacher would read to you all?
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the rug, teacher's reading, and I picked my nose and I had a big old booger on my finger, and the teacher stopped reading it and she was like, "Zachary, did you just pick that booger out of your nose in front of everybody? Traumatizing."
That's not okay.
I know. And my response was, "No, I found it." which is way worse. That's the same feeling I got with the butt plug cover up, is that the cover up was worse than the truth. Like, no, this is someone else's dirty ass toy that I'm holding.
All right. Feeling about asserting yourself with cheating that you don't want to tell anyone the truth about, relying on fake to manage a situation because it's faster.
What the fuck?
Feeling good not needing anyone else. Feeling good figuring out a problem all by yourself. Feeling that you are lacking something special in life.
None of this is resonating.
Having no jealousy.
Thankfully.
That you can always feel good on your own if you need to.
I don't know. I can't tie any of this into anything.
Yeah. Maybe this is not close enough to butt plug.
Would you say negatively? Maybe if you maybe we look at the butt entry.
Plug dildo. I mean, like sex toy. Is there a sex toy entry?
There's not.
I tried. Yeah.
It does.
Ass.
There's no butt, but there's ass.
Ass. See buttocks-bum or
bum.
Donkey.
Buttocks-bum.
Buttocks-bum. To dream of a buttocks or bum.
Did we not look at this in the rubber butt entry?
I don't think we did.
I can't believe it.
I don't.
Represents how interesting something is to you. To dream of a beautiful and sexually attractive butt. represents something you desire to have.
I didn't see any butts. In the dream.
You know, we'll get to you. I'm busy. I've had to turn away from Dream Bible for the answer to this question.
Oh, did you find butt plug dream symbolism?
I found droman.site.
Your computer's so full of viruses now.
I know, it's no good.
Droman? They couldn't get dreamin' site.
That's got an entry about sex toys. It was probably written by ChatGPT.
Maybe we should ask.
What does a dream about a dildo, vibrator, or sex toy mean? A dream about a dildo, vibrator, or sex toy suggests that you feel dissatisfied in some area of your life. This may have to do with sex, but not necessarily. This dream can also indicate that you're sexually adventurous or assertive.
Ooh, butt plug.
Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Where? Oh, there it is. A dream about a butt plug indicates that you are not happy with your current sex life. You are not able to express your desires.
Not true at all.
Your desire is to live in the same state as
yeah, I mean that would help my sex life. Yeah. when she's here, it's stellar. When she's not here, it's very solo. So maybe
it's just you and the butt plug.
I also found a Reddit dream, short and sweet. It's I had a dream that I caught my dad using a butt plug. Sad crying face.
Yeah.
My only question is why?
It means something.
Woof. That's. I can't think of any way to of everything that's come up so far how to tie that into everything else we talked about. Other than maybe like if part of me I'm grasping at straws here. If part of me is worried about other people perceiving our relationship as hasty or our, her move is hasty. Part of that may be because I don't know. Because people who were super Christian, to bring it back to the top of the episode, who got married super young because they have never been laid and they want things to start and God says they have to get married and as a secular person you look at that and you're like that I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe you just fucking, but maybe that's how, maybe I'm subconsciously a little afraid of being seen that way because maybe not even sex per se, but the fact that we're apart so often and desperately want to be together. It might seem from an outsider perspective like we're desperate to be together, but
I really see that the opposite way. Her moving, you living together is that, right? That is not the hasty thing, I feel like
right, but
that is an important step in it. Your relationship will accelerate when you are living together.
Right, but
as long as you have distance, that is a thing that will slow down the progression of wherever it's going.
That's the truth. But in the dream, it was being portrayed as a hasty, borderline shotgun wedding.
Right.
Which, I mean, we're in May. You were talking about doing this in June? July?
July. We were hoping she could move here. That's not looking super possible. It depends on a number of factors, but
yeah. But the last time we talked about it, when we were talking about this in reference to the tidal wave dream, that was the thing, right?
July has been our goal.
It snuck up on you of how quickly it became 2 months out from July or whatever. And so that could be connected to feeling this time pressure or feeling judged for rushing it or whatever. It's just feeling like you're trying to hit that deadline that's seeming well, how are we going to do that,
Yeah. Yeah. So the only parts of any of those sex toy adjacent entries, no pun intended, that I could grasp onto was, the parts about I might be misremembering, but the idea of having the symbolism I'm getting from a butt plug is the idea of doing something alone and shame behind that and wanting the person that I'm actually having sex with to be here, and maybe and tying that to the rest of the dream, and maybe afraid of.
Let us do. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was going to repeat myself. Afraid of being seen as hasty.
I just I got overexcited at the idea of you doing the Gestalt method as the butt plug.
I don't know if that symbol held that much weight.
I had to get that out there.
It kind of did.
Yeah.
It kind of almost had enough weight.
As the butt plug, what do I love? I saw Victor ask ChatGPT, do you know what a butt plug is?
It does.
What did it say?
It said, yes, I am aware of what a butt plug is. However, as an AI language model, my responses are intended to be informative, helpful, and appropriate for all audiences. If you have any specific questions or concerns related to this topic, please feel free to ask them in a respectful and appropriate manner. And so I asked it, what would dream symbolism of finding a butt plug on a bar at a wedding reception mean? And it said, dreams are highly personal, blah, blah, blah. That said, finding a butt plug in a dream could be interpreted as a symbol of sexual exploration or experimentation. It could represent a desire to explore one's own sexuality or experience new and exciting sexual experiences, which didn't seem to resonate. So I said, what's a non-sexual interpretation?
No, I just think I want the person I'm having sex with to be here.
You think that's it? Is that it is about sex?
Yeah, but not. But yeah, in the context of a relationship.
Yeah,
and like me hiding it from this little kid who was so eager to call me out on it.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, no, let's unpack that, right? So it's like you're like you're feeling some anxiety about how this is being perceived. This like quickly moving Shelby out. So like, if
or
you feel
in the dream,
like
this hasty, poorly planned wedding.
Right. So it's like on some level, if the butt plug represents like pent up sexual desire or sexual frustration or whatever, and then that's the thing that's being used to like embarrass you at the wedding, and the wedding symbolizes like your anxiety over how you're being perceived for you guys like moving in so quickly, right? It's like, do people think that we're just doing this because we want to be able to like have more sex or whatever, you know? It's like an anxiety of that side of that perception, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a much more eloquent version of what I was trying to say a couple minutes ago. Which, you know, put into the context of what we were talking about earlier with like the mega responsibility of like having a kid in the mix, something like sexual gratification does feel pretty trivial. You know, like if you're just talking about two single people, it's like, yeah, totally. You want to be in the same place. You want to be able to touch each other. Given the needs of a 10-year-old person that is not even aware of that universe yet, it feels selfish. It feels like shoving a butt plug up there.
The way you just framed the butt plug thing, like from the perspective of the 10-year-old, actually makes a little more sense in the dildo entry, I think. Unfortunately.
No, it's funny. Everything we're saying does like track if you're patient, but on a surface level, it's a weird conversation. Yeah.
It'd be hard to pull clips out of this episode.
I can't read this very well without my glasses, but
to dream of a dildo represents feeling good dishonestly, asserting yourself and getting away with it, feeling that it's easy to assert yourself in a fake way, emptily enjoying asserting yourself while not needing anyone else, solution to a problem that isn't beautiful but works, using lies to assert yourself that you don't want to tell anyone the truth about, feeling about asserting yourself with cheating that you don't want to tell anyone the truth about. Well, this is all like being assertive and like kind of taking what's yours or whatever, you know, in ways that are maybe shameful or embarrassing or not considerate of others or whatever. So it's like, yeah, if you do like you moving in with Shelby is something you're doing for yourself, right? It's taking care of your needs, and it may like you may be concerned about how it's being perceived, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that does seem to connect.
Yeah.
Or like a guilt, as you said, about, you know, if there's like fallout in some way, like if it's indirectly ends up, making life harder on somebody,
And what's funny, without actually like doing the whole Gestalt method, just at a cursory glance, thinking about what it would be like to Gestalt the butt plug. That might be the title of the episode.
It's like Christmas for me.
Gestalt the butt plug.
Like if I'm putting myself in the shoes, the one big shoe of the butt plug. What my like immediate feeling as the butt plug
Go on.
is because it was sitting out on the like counter, and I noticed it. I was like, oh fuck, and like in the dream, I was like that is unmistakably mine. I have to hide it. Like, how would anyone else know that? But in the dream, that's what it was. So like, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of this object, the feeling is this like out and proudness, this like, I am the butt plug, and then being swept into a pocket feels very like, what are you doing? Like, what are you ashamed of? And that kind of that feels like it parallels the whole wedding from my perspective as the groom, where I'm like, I'm in love with Shelby. Why is this such a big deal? Because that was my feeling throughout the whole dream. Like, I wanted to get married. The thing I was most excited about was going to City Hall and getting the piece of paper. I didn't want to go to fucking Chili's for the reception. I didn't want to do any of this. It felt like we were going through the most minimal version of the motions because we had to, and it was letting people down. But at the core of it was like, we're madly in love. We're just like feeling shame about the like trappings of it. So I kind of was the butt plug through and through.
Yeah. There's this tension between like the like simplicity of what you want, which is that like you fell in love with somebody and they are in love with you and you want to be together. And then all of the stuff that is packaged along with that,
Yeah. There's shame around both things, both parts of the dream. The shame in the first part of the dream didn't feel as warranted. Like, I did feel a little embarrassed that we didn't plan the wedding better, but I felt much more embarrassed to have left a sex toy on the table. But it was a similar kind of like exposure kind of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we cracked it.
Yeah,
Do you
I feel like
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that all feels right.
Rad.
Feels like having a butt plug in.
Thank you for listening to The Young and the Restless.
You can follow us on social media at The Jung and the Restless Pod and submit your dreams for interpretation to thejungandtherestlesspod@gmail.com.
And as we always say every time,
My penis is cleanish.
Picture a tiger lily on the moon, and maybe someday we could go there together. For now the clock is screaming, welcome home. Dream forever, dream forever. Wait, when did Victor say that naturally in the wild?
I can't remember why that came.
I think you just got out of the shower. You came into the living room
And then
said,
you
my
asked
penis
him.
is cleanish.
You were like, hey, before we do anything, are you good to go down there? And he was like, well, my penis is cleanish.